Good morning, homeschool moms and dads. Okay, so for the next video in our little questions people have about homeschooling series, I wanted to talk about they're all kind of big ones because these are the top questions people have, but kind of a big one. Are you qualified? So there's this fear that a lot of new homeschoolers have, wondering if they're qualified. Maybe they weren't good at math when they were a kid, or they weren't, the best at science, or whatever it is. They feel like maybe there's a subject or two that they don't feel qualified in. And they start to wonder, am I qualified to teach my children? Am I going to do a disservice to my children? There are lots of different ways to get over this fear and to create an environment where your kid is not going to suffer if, by chance, you are terrible at a subject. It's okay. All right, so there are lots of different options. One option is you can outsource it. So I'm not great at foreign languages. We outsource Hebrew, and my daughter takes an outside Hebrew class. We do a lot of it, at home as well. And of course, she hears us praying in Hebrew all the time, every single day. So she hears it on a regular basis. But when it comes to the actual teaching of Hebrew literacy, we outsource it, and she takes an outside class. Then, so you can always outsource something. So you can get an online tutor if your kid's, okay with the whole Zoom class thing. There are lots of classes that cater to homeschool families, and you can, take a math class or take a science class online. There are also lots of curriculums that are online based. So for math, for example, teaching textbooks is like the leader in the space for elementary, well, it goes all the way through high school, but it's like the leader in the space for online math curriculums. We don't use it personally, but I hear people talk about it all the time, and they seem to really love it. So, maybe if you're not super confident in teaching math, and sometimes it's the parent that's really good at math that isn't so great at teaching it, because sometimes if it comes really easily to you, you're not great at translating it to someone who doesn't understand it, because you make assumptions about what's obvious. And it's not obvious if it's never been explained to you before, right? So you can always outsource things either to a curriculum or to an online teacher, or a lot of homeschool communities in, your town or your city. There might be other moms that want to do a trade. So, if you take over history for my kid, then I'll take over math for yours, and we can just swap them. Maybe that'll work for your family. Maybe it won't. Sometimes it's hard to find another family with, similarly aged children for it to work in that subject, whatever. There's also in-person classes. So we do a couple different science curriculums as well. But for example, my daughter all summer is doing a series of science classes through a local program, and she's getting to, go to different locations and learn different things. I'm probably going to do a video putting all that together and kind of say like, okay, so like here's, cool summer things you can do. But you can outsource a lot of this stuff, and especially in the elementary school years where it doesn't have to be as rigid as it needs to be in, middle school where you're prepping for high school, or in high school where everything matters, because you're doing your transcript and you're getting ready for college. But in the elementary school years, you can outsource a lot of this stuff. You can't, well, in the high school years, you can really outsource a lot of it. Just about every subject, you can find curriculums that are fully online. either with a teacher or just, video classes and things like that. So don't worry about it. And for the most part, especially in the elementary school years, you are probably a better teacher than you think. The curriculums out there are usually, you look for the ones that say they're open and go. The ones that are scripted, where it tells you exactly what to do, exactly what to say, and you just follow the directions, and the curriculum teaches. You're just voicing it. It's really hard to mess that up. So I guess my general thoughts on this question are, don't worry about it, you'll get over it, and if you don't get over it, you can always outsource. It's not that hard. In general, though, your kid is probably intellectually very similar to you, so you're not going to be poorly matched to teach your child. It's going to be pretty easy to teach them on their level, because their level is probably somewhat similar to yours, and you can empathize and remember what it was like when you were that age, and you can kind of go, okay, well, this is simple math. The curriculum is going to hold my hand through the process, and I'm going to figure it out. And you generally do. So our little anecdote for this is that my husband was convinced that he was horrible at math, just terrible at math. Turns out it just wasn't taught to him correctly. He wasn't given one-on-one attention. He didn't get to learn it in a way that worked really well for his mind. So in teaching my daughter math, my husband has become really good at math. Not a little bit good, really good at math. And to the point where it's really confusing his parents, because they were like, you have always been terrible at math. How are you able to do this in your head like that? Well, homeschooling, I have learned lots of things. So you'll learn alongside your children. You don't have to know everything before you open the book. You learn it through teaching it, and teaching it is the best way to learn it. So sometimes you ask the kid to teach it back to you. I've rambled on for a little bit. Those are my thoughts on that question. If you have thoughts, please put them in the comments. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great morning. Bye.